Welcome to the Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. Every week, we're going to bring you powerful stories and strategies from leaders who are making a real impact by building stronger, more resilient communities. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools to thrive in both your personal and professional life. Welcome to the Rise Together weekly podcast series, part of the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. Today, I'd like to introduce our guests, Keri Ohlrich, author of The Way of the HR Warrior and Whatever the Hell You Want, and CEO of the Ohlrich Group, and also Kelly Guenther, COO of the Ohlrich Group, and also co-author of Whatever the Hell You Want. And they are also co-podcast hosts of the Breakout podcast. So Keri and Kelly, welcome to Rise Together podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you both, and I'm excited to hear about your beautiful work on so many areas, so many levels. It's wonderful to see. Well, can you start maybe with a 90-second or so introduction of your organization or whatever you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I think I can try to do it in 90 seconds. Whew. Okay, so Kelly and I, we've known each other for over 10 years. We've worked together for a very long time, and we started our own company almost 8 years ago now. And so Ohlrich Group is a consulting group. We focus mainly on human resources and team building and fractional HR and all those wonderful things that HR entails. We have the book, The Way of the HR Warrior. So we actually train HR professionals. So we help businesses and we train HR professionals. And then Kelly and I, with our love of doing the Breakout podcast and listening to people's inspirational stories and helping people and helping them really become their authentic selves, we wrote the book, Whatever the Hell You Want. And that's all about living your own life, not someone else's life, and being authentic. And through just years of being in corporate, having career discussions, doing team building, working on self-awareness, and listening to our interviews on the when we did our podcast, we were able to create this book and help people. So that's what we do.
I love that authenticity piece. I'm such a fan and committed devotee of being on that path. And
Yep.
I just feel like it's more important than ever, especially now.
Oh
So
my goodness, yes.
like we could do a whole nother podcast just on that.
Yes, we could.
But so you have this consulting company and your books and podcasts. I guess you're serving the HR practitioners in the community, or how would you describe who you're serving?
Well, I would say we are serving anyone who's interested in making a transformation or learning more about themselves, especially on the kind of personal development front. When it comes to our human resources side of the business, we work with primarily small to medium-sized companies who either they have maybe someone who is a one-person HR team and is looking for additional assistance or support, or more often than not, there really isn't an HR function. And yet they see the value of having an HR function given the multitude of areas in which you can find yourself in trouble as a company when you're managing people. So we really enjoy the work that we do in partnering with leaders who are prescribing to the theory of doing the right thing, really helping their companies, but also helping develop their employees as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So mostly supporting the smaller orgs, so needed. But you're also for everybody because these are common themes for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So great. So, how did you get into this particular area and this diversity of offerings that you have?
I think for both Kelly and I, there's a very strong through line on helping. And so Kelly naturally is a helper, and I'm naturally this goal-oriented person who is like, you better make a difference. Like, you have one life, so you better do something with it. So we both have this, what are you going to do for other people through line? HR is a really great way to help others. And Kelly started with training, and that is such a helper, right? You're training people, you're helping them educate themselves, you're helping them get better and grow their potential. I start off in psychology, which is all about helping people find their potential and self-actualization. And so we came together and we worked so much in corporate on change management and again, helping companies change and helping those employees. And so I think what Kelly and I really bonded over are listening to these conversations with people and how perhaps they didn't want to go down a certain path, but their parents told them to. Well, you have to do this and not that.
Mhm.
And we just saw how much their lives improved with when they lived it for themselves. And then
Mm.
at the same time, Kelly and I have also lived that, right? So I've lived kind of someone else's life for a while, not my own. And Kelly has been very strong in her, nope, I don't need kids. I don't want them. Thank you very much. And I am still happy. I know that's crazy for people to hear, but you can not have kids and have a really great life. So, so I think
Okay.
because of that and quite a bit of sass and stubbornness is how we have branched all out into podcasts and doing different things, but it all still has the same through line of helping and really just being sassy and helping people understand like you don't have to live someone else's life, you can live your own.
Ah, two audacious women. I love it. Yeah, I have the same story, and I
Yeah.
gave up tenure at a research university for that reason.
Yes.
So I love it. Yeah, good for you. And that audacity is so important and needed now for us to be our
Hmm.
true selves.
Yes.
So I would imagine that this is maybe related to the challenges you're experiencing, either with your individual learners or for the organizations that you're supporting through your HR services. I mean, does this rise to one of the top problems or challenges, or what would you say is the number one challenge?
I think it's helping. It's always trying to find the balance between, the work life balance is one that I tend to see a lot being a challenge, especially because many companies are struggling with the idea of return to work and hybrid work and fully on site. And, that seems to be a topic of a lot of conversation, especially since the first of the year. So, just helping navigate, is there a right way or is there a wrong way? And truly, it's a matter of really talking with your employees and understanding what their needs are, and then figuring out how do we strike a balance so that we can retain really good talent and yet allow for there to be this expectation of we want to be together and collaborating and involved with each other, but we also want to help you find and live the best version of your life, which is being able to still have the balance of picking up kids from school or taking care of an elderly parent or just being able to have the flexibility of not having a commute as much as you normally would if you had traditionally a longer commute. So that's one of the challenges that we're seeing a lot of companies struggling with and really right sizing is that return to work philosophy and concept.
And I think to add to that, Kelly, as another part of it is people, leaders, I should say, are having a hard time listening sometimes
Mm.
to their employees and really understanding that employees are individuals and not a monolith. So everyone can come in, like Kelly is saying, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, instead of realizing that work gets done in different ways. I I have been saying about this kind of adjusted flexible schedule for a long time before COVID. We are still struggling with it. Kelly and I thought it would kind of be over after COVID that companies learned that, ooh, we can be flexible and we can do it differently. But ooh, you talk about homeostasis, which is this great term we always use about you want to come back and go backwards and kind of stay stable. And companies are doing it and they're so excited to go back to the old way. And we're really struggling, I think, with leaders on I don't know how to manage. I don't really quite know how to listen. I don't know how to treat them as kind of humans right now because I'm kind of scared. I don't know how much I should ask. Should I ask personal questions? Should I get to know them? Should I be vulnerable? It's not easy for leaders. It's not easy for companies. It's also not easy for employees. So I think just all of that is really tough. And we feel, Kelly, I think Kelly and I feel like we're going backwards a bit.
Yeah, well, and if I could just ask a question along that lines, because I mean, the articles I've read is that the productivity did
Mm-hmm.
not fall off
It did
with,
not.
okay, so that's also what you're seeing in
Mm-hmm.
your personal experience. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it
So,
yeah, it did not. And also who it's hurting the most are women and people of color. So
Mm.
that is difficult. Single moms get hurt more by this. Females will not see as many promotional opportunities. It is, there are some very devastating downstream effects to it. And what Kelly and I have seen too, it is pretty much the purview of the leader, of the CEO. And if he, and I say he because unfortunately it's the majority, if he says, I just feel more comfortable back in the office, then everyone goes back in the office. And there's been quite a few researchers who have said, please stop doing that. Stop. Just listen to your employees first. And that's what we talk about, this listening part. Please listen to your employees first. Please ask them. Please find out what's going on instead of just doing a mandate and doing it so quickly, and that not caring. When you do a mandate in a week, you're not caring about anything else and what impact it has on their lives, what impact it has on childcare. Like you're showing that you don't care. And that's the problem, is that I feel like you don't care. And so why should I be overly engaged or productive when you don't care about
Right.
me? No.
Yeah, there was a Harvard Business Review article that talked about what does mental health in the workplace look
Mm-hmm.
like aside from benefits, and one of them is the leader showing compassion and empathy
Yes.
and listening and
Yes.
responding to what they
Yes.
hear. Anyway, a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
I
Whole
feel
other
like
podcast. Whole other podcast.
we'll have to make notes here for the series. Um, so, what kind of outcomes do you see when you work with your clients? Can they expect from working with you, and what kind of results might they see?
Well, I think for me, it's always when you can see someone see a part of themselves that maybe they weren't able to to see or explore or understand. So one of my favorite stories is recently, worked with someone who's been in her role for over 20 years, and was looking for maybe an opportunity to go into a different department and was really a bit nervous about it. How do I do it? Saw the role was posted. And she applied, and it was so cool to see her number one raise her hand to say, I'm interested in something different. I've been doing the same thing for 25 years. And yes, it's been interesting and I've evolved and every day is a challenge. But when she received and she accepted the offer for the position, she lights up like a Christmas tree every time I see her. She's excited, she's happy, and she's learning and growing in ways that yes, she was learning and growing before, but it's a whole new skill set. It's a whole new side of the business that she didn't have a lot of exposure to. And so it's those moments where you can see someone who may have felt like maybe my career is twilighting or sunsetting, and they see a part of themselves and they recognize that this is possible. I put myself out there. I have the street cred. I have the skill set, and whatever I'm missing, quote unquote, I can gain in that additional knowledge that I'll learn when I actually, try something new. So it's been just a great story. And those are the things that I live for. Those are the moments that make me realize that being in HR is everything I wanted it to be, and so much more. And yes, there's a lot of laws and regulations, and we're in California, so that adds a whole nother layer of complexity. But it's when you see those personal transformations that for me mean everything.
Mm. It sounds like it's the best of HR right here between the two of you. So wonderful.
We think so. Yeah.
We complement each other well. We're very different
We
in the
do.
way we do work,
Yes.
but thankfully there's assessments that help us see that, and we're best friends as a result of it. And so, when you have the opportunity to do what you love with the person that you care about the most, it makes every day so much more meaningful. And the fear of starting a company and being an entrepreneur and all of that, the hustle that's involved with all of it, it melts away when you know that you've got someone who, you totally treasure in your life, and who's your best friend.
Well, you guys mentioned some of the challenges and things often happening quickly right around now. If you had to put your future vision goggles on, where do you see all this going in the next 5 to 10 years, and how are you preparing for that?
Well, the word that popped into my head was chaos. And uh, sometimes chaos can be good. in a controlled environment, a little bit controlled chaos, a little bit of fun, a little bit of learning, a little bit of stumbling, a little bit of vulnerability. So not all chaos is completely horrible. But I think for businesses, they don't like as much chaos as we are witnessing, and things that get stripped away and things that are no longer important. If you look at organizations like OSHA, the Department of Labor, those departments being gutted, changed very quickly, companies won't know how to react to those things. So I think from that perspective, the external environment will be difficult, because I just think that companies will just kind of there's a little bit of whiplash. They're like, wait, does this law apply to us? Does this what are we doing? How do we do this? For companies that have a good moral center, it won't matter as much. Unfortunately, Kelly and I know of companies and have been in some who sometimes don't have the best interest at heart for human beings, and it's solely about money. Therefore, without any boundaries, those companies will get far worse. So I think for leaders and for HR is, how do we help stabilize a bit, and how do we help people maneuver and figure it out? It will be difficult. I can't not say, oh, it's going to be great. I think leadership was already tough. It was already tough trying to manage, just like we were saying, the vulnerability, being a human leader and listening. And like you said, the empathy from the Harvard article. And now you just add another layer of complexity / chaos. It's just going to be rough. I often tell it like it is. That is not sometimes endearing and sometimes depressing, but I just think you kind of had to prepare yourself for chaos. And back when COVID was here, we talked about VUCA, which is, of course, I can't remember. So I'm
Volatile,
sure.
uncertain, complex, and
Yes,
ambiguous.
thank you. I knew you were going to know it. I knew you were going to know it. And so we talked about that during COVID, and like you have to get used to it. But I feel like that's almost more of a tepid term to the full blown chaos that it is now. So I think, how do you stabilize, and how do you take care of yourself? And then how do you take care of your employees and your organization will just be tough. There's no other way around it. It'll be tough.
Yeah. The potential upside is a lot of growth. So, speaking of which,
Yes.
what is your next area of growth for the two of you, besides the little love fest you have as work partners?
Well, we're looking to make more of what our offerings available in an on-demand format. So we have, Keri's book, The Way of the HR Warrior, which is all about, becoming that HR warrior that you know that you can be. But maybe is your organization supporting it? What is, are you recognizing what you want for yourself even in your HR role? So we're developing courses that will be available online for people to take. Number one, just to make it more flexible and easy, because a lot of times HR professionals, as much as we would hope that they would love to attend a lot of personal development courses, you have an emergency happen with an employee and you need to be able to intervene and help right then and there. So on demand is certainly something we're looking to navigate into. And the same thing with our book, the way Whatever the Hell You Want. We really want to make it possible for people to see and realize, what are the boxes that are preventing me from living my most authentic life, and what can I do? What are some simple actions I can take to make adjustments that will help me feel like I am living life on my terms and not on someone else's?
Well, you're definitely speaking my language. We all have to continue that
Yes.
conversation as well. But in the meantime, what's the best way for people to contact you if they want to learn more about you or work with you?
The easiest way is to go to our website, which is abrachigroup.com. That is the easiest. You can also reach out to me or Kelly via LinkedIn. But yeah, we have everything on our website. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts or any podcast player, by the way, called The Breakout.
So many ways to engage and learn
Yes.
more and become more authentic
Yes.
and better leaders, better support for your people
Yep.
all around you. So thank you so much, Keri and Kelly, for
Thank you.
this wonderful interview. And I just loved hearing about your audacity and how you're using that to help benefit communities everywhere. Thanks for joining us on Rise Together podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sana.
Thank you for joining us today on our Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. We hope you've been inspired by today's stories and strategies for building stronger, more resilient communities. Remember, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about growing through every challenge to become bigger and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who could benefit from these insights. Stay connected, stay resilient, and we'll see you next time.